Check. Is my computer gonna freeze today? Please no. Let me know if this is coming through, ladies and gents. Well, as the music. Check, audio check, please, in the chat. That's you, if you can hear this, or maybe this isn't coming through. I'm hoping it's coming through. Alright, here we go. G'day, Stu from UAVFutures. Welcome to Happy Flying. I think this is episode number 11, which is kind of crazy. First things first, we're going to be talking a whole bunch of FPV. We're going to be going through the show notes, but I need to do a little bit of housekeeping first. I need to check this audio quality, make sure the stream is working, all that good stuff, because it's not professional, it's a little bit bro-fessional here. So we're trying to keep it together, bit of duct tape, sticky tape. I'm going to see who is in the chat as well. We'll go through what we've got coming up in the stream. It looks like people are saying, yep, hear you fine. So that's from Nick C. Loud and clear, some thumbs up. Thank you very much, everybody there, because we have struggled with our audio a little bit. And believe it or not, check this out. So for those of you who might have just joined, we have upgraded. Finally, I feel confident to be able to use this new microphone instead of these things which were literally held together with glue, duct tape, soldered in old Fat Shark batteries and little Whoop connectors. So I can actually put them to the side like they're literally falling apart. So, you know, this used to be just on my ear right here, but that is great to know that it is working. We'll find out. We've got Anthony. He's tuning in from Sydney. So there we go. Another fellow Aussie. I know we've got Johnny DRC. Well, he said he was in the chat. He was 4. He's been here for 4 hours. So I wonder if he's still sticking around. Or what we've got coming up in this show. We're going to be talking all things FPV, having a good time, hanging out. We're going to be talking a little bit about mental health. That's something that I'm really passionate about. But it's 10 a.m. here in Oz. Let me have a look. I've gone through, got my little show notes, my little run sheet on some things you can expect. So, of course, we're going to check in with you guys. I want to talk about some cool little possible sponsorship things that I'm excited about. We've got some drone laws around the world. We have a little bit about FPV history, and this is making me feel kind of old. But we are coming up on the 10-year anniversary of the first ever Drone National Championship. So that's we're going to be talking a little bit about that. If you've been into drones for 10 years, well, you might know about it, but there's a lot of newcomers into the hobby as well. You've got no idea what it was like, so we're going to do a little bit of a trip down memory lane, look at some of the drones people were using, and it's really amazing to see how far we've come. We are also going to be showing you, and this is no word of a lie, the best freestyle flight I have ever seen in my entire life. Where, like, my wife has seen a lot of drone videos, and I had to call her over and be like, no, this one is special. This is, and even, like, the question, how are they doing that? So we're going to be showing you the best flight I have ever seen. We're going to be helping some people as well that emailed me that might help some others out there just about getting their bind and flies working and some of the problems with bind and flies. We have another pretty crazy, cool Reddit video. It's not the best flight I've ever seen, but it's definitely pretty special. We're going to be talking about some of the oldest stores in the USA, and then a bit of a streaming goal. So I am struggling with some things actually, which is affecting the content that I'm making on UAVFutures, and maybe we can sort of come to some solution. You guys can point me in the right direction and help me get on track with that. So we've got Sean Williams. He's saying good morning, good evening, and afternoon all. So there we go. Another Kiwi in the chat. I think it's June Loco. He's saying it's 5 p.m. here in San Diego. Just having some coffee right there. And Anthony's saying memory lane. Remember me crying G to you for help setting up my wizard. Okay, yeah, that's going a long time ago there. brother, the E Sheen, a wizard. But first things first, let's check in. So the first thing on the list I want to talk about, this is mental health. It's something that I'm really a big believer in. It's why these streams are all titled Happy Flying. And it is one of the most important things that I feel like I can do. So if I can just help somebody through that, or just make them not feel alone or less ashamed, or maybe point them in the right direction, that's something that I want to do. I want to take time out of my day every time we do this stream to chat with you guys about it, because it might not seem like a big deal to you, and if your life is going fantastic, all the more power to you. But you never know who's out there, who's struggling, and who might just need a couple of kind words, or just somebody to talk to, or a little motivation to take some steps towards moving in the right direction. So I know for me personally, a couple of years ago, it was really hard with my mental health, and I don't want other people to have to go through that and feel like they are alone. So if that is you, we've got a Discord. The link should be here in the description if I was organized enough to put it in. If not, join the UAVFutures Discord. Send me an email. But one of the most important things that I really believe in is, if you are struggling and you don't have someone to talk to, making that, like trying to get to the doctors to get help, is what I really believe in. Like, they are specialists, they're trained in it, and please don't ever feel alone or ashamed in it. It's just like if you broke your leg, would you go to the doctor, say, hey doctor, I broke my leg? Well, the same thing can happen with your mind. Hey, something's not right with my mind. I would like to go and talk to somebody about it. Anyway, that's my advice. I'm sure some other people have got some different things in the chat as well, but UAVFutures and all the people here, I'm sure they can comment in the chat as well. They will let you know that, like, UAVFutures, the family that we have here and the FPV community, it is full of so many positive, just amazing people that I feel really proud to be part of this community. It's something that I am amazed for a community that is mainly connects online, and a lot of times online can be quite a bit of a negative space. I am amazed at the positivity that comes out of the FPV community. Hey, we just saw Johnny DRC tuning in and he's saying, hey, I made it. I crashed my 7-inch and it took longer to find it. So yeah, that's, never... Look, I got to say, even if you went outside and you crashed your drone, you still get to go out there, get flying. I know you've got plenty of others there, some wings as well. So any day flying in my books is a good day. Now, I want to talk about something we're going to chat a little bit about, and I have to give a big shout out. And you guys can, look, you can say, oh, Stuart, you're a sellout. Here we go. We're about to do a little bit of, what do you think of this sponsor? So I want to give a shout out to this delicious coffee that I've got right here. And look at the cup that it's in. So I got to give a shout out. This is from Phaser FPV. They must have heard us chatting a little bit last week. I know they're in the stream. And they said, hey, Stu, we can hook you up with some coffee. So they do have another, like a sister brand. I think it's Central Coast Coffee or something like that. But I thought, you know what? I'm sure you guys can appreciate that every little bit does help on the channel. So yeah. A big shout out to them. They sent through some coffee beans and some mugs, and I was like, man, I'm happy to chat about Phaser FPV and show you guys some stuff as well. I think Phaser has one of the largest things in Australia in terms of FPV products, but I'm going to give a bit of critical feedback here. So when I was looking at this, if I go to their homepage here, I was not sure where to find drones, and tell me if I'm doing this incorrectly, but these links up here for me, I was like, oh, where I was scrolling everywhere trying to find some categories. I'm not used to a clean website or something, like, I wasn't sure that you could actually click on these, or maybe I'm just not good at reading. I was getting too distracted. So, and I will have a look, see what they've got. We'll see what other people are doing in the chat. The Gooniverse is saying, hey, Stu, been emailing you this week about my RX failsafe issues, and my RX FC took a dive in the final verdict. Looks like I won't be flying for 3 months. You know what? You actually, if you just tuned in, that's what we're talking about. That's coming up. I've already earmarked it. I've got it written down. I'm going to go through some of the procedures on how we can help you there. Gooniverse. All right, and we got Slow Entropy is saying Phaser is a great shop. Let's see, what do we got? I want to have a look at the actual quads. HD0. Let's see. All right, so anyway, it looks like they've got a pretty large range as well. I just want to give them a bit of a shout out. If you're into FPV, if you're in Australia, definitely go check them out, because they've been in the hobby for a long time. I think my original video one time with them, and I have to apologize to them. they sent over some frames, and this is before digital was really a thing. I can't even remember the name of the frame. It was using what was called the Connex system, and you don't understand how hard it was to have digital FPV. Like this is probably going back about 8 years or maybe 7 years to 2017, and the digital FPV options we had are nowhere near what it was like today. Like, you think you've got a HD0 quad that has a small like digital VTX in there. Check this out. What was it? Connex FPV. I do wish I had one of these in terms of the pro site. Okay. Oh, that's what it was called. I was so jealous. I really, really wanted one of these. Let's see. Newer product available. Is there... This doesn't really do it justice to show how big it is to get into the quad. Let's put this on the screen. And just do a bit of screen share. So yeah, this is the Connex FPV Pro Sight HD Vision Kit. I'm going to find out what that new product is in just a little bit. But this, you needed a ground station, so you needed to pipe this into your goggles if you wanted to get some digital action. It did not play well with analog at all. It was extremely expensive. I can remember watching this on, I think it was Flight Test. They were doing some flights around with it. It broke up. The range wasn't amazing. And what other things here? You can see like 70 millimeters. That's probably, oh, the VTX was not small. I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that much for free. Trying to cram this VTX into your quad was a nightmare. You really needed a bit of a specialized build. Phaser did send me one, but then of course I crashed it and smashed it into a million pieces. So I did have to apologize like that. And Slight Entropy saying, in some ways, I miss the early days of FPV. There's good and bad about it. I feel like more people into the hobby, the better it's going to be. But it was a lot harder back then to get flying. Things are cheaper now than they were. We've got better products to use. Like there's a lot more refinement when it comes to a hobby. It is easier to get up and get flying. And there's less barrier of an entry, which is, look, I think it's a good thing for most reasonable people. But some people definitely shouldn't be. Like my latest video, I was kind of a bit upset about someone. Anyway, let's see, what is this newer product available? What are we going to get? Okay, it goes to DJI. Even this is an old product right here. It looks like the very first ones that came out. All right. Anyway, yeah, the Connex digital system. We probably should. I did do a video on it. Eventually. It was basically, that one was sponsored by Phaser. So yeah, they sent me some stuff and were able to make a video, and then I had to send it back in pieces. Now moving on, let's do this. So this is some drone laws around the world. A lot of times we'll get an email and they say, hey Stu, what are the regulations like? Where can I fly? Where can I not fly? And most of the time I tend to stay well away from regulations because I'm not a lawyer. I'm not offering any legal advice. It's just a bit of an interesting chart that I found that I do want to show you guys. So I'm going to jump over here. I can see, I'm just going to answer a couple of things in the chat. If you've got some questions as well, throw them down below. I'll go through and do my best to answer them. But Anthony is saying digital divided us, I think. Now, look, I definitely feel like there is two people. Like, let me know in the chat, do you fly digital, do you fly analog, or do you fly both? Because digital, like, nowadays, there's pros and cons of both. I feel like digital for me is my favorite type of flying. I do feel like a bit of a spoiled brat when I've got to go back and fly some analog quads or analog wings around. There is nothing quite like flying around with just, I don't know, my walk snail drones. That's like what I like to use all the time. I do like how there's a bit of competition though, with like, it's not just walk snail. Now we're getting, it's really exciting. It's sort of going back to how analog used to be. So we've got like HD0, DJI, walk snail. We're getting the run, like the IPC stuff. So that's coming in like with things like from Emacs, you know, this is one of the digital receivers right here, or we've got the RunCam IPC stuff as well. It's an exciting time for FPV. And I don't know about a division. It's just, what do pilots prefer? And now with the like micro whoop scene, or like the tiny whoop scene with the HD0 all-in-one 5 board or something, I feel like analog is going to be in a bit of a tricky space. But of course, it's cheap. Like, analog is cheaper than ever, and it definitely does have that place. If you just want to experience the world of FPV and fly around in a cheap basher, there is nothing wrong with it. If you're doing a risky mission, you don't want to, I guess, risk losing your really expensive DJI drone, analog has its place. It's easy to use. Johnny DRC is saying analog for years. He just purchased Walk Snail. And the Gooniverse is saying, I want to fly digital, but I can't afford it. So there we go. Yeah, talking about those dollars things, it can be a little bit, that's probably the only benefit nowadays, I think, of analog is the price, because it's not the weight. The other part is it's much more of an open ecosystem, though, which you can't say the same for digital. But however, with things like the IPC stuff coming out, it might go that way. You know, that's an open source project that different manufacturers can take on board and design their own stuff with and use some of that tech. So we might still end up that way, which I'm all for. It's always better for consumers. I just want to make this clear. I am in no way, shape, or form for HD0, CADX, DJI, like having a monopoly on that. We need that competition. It keeps the prices down. It keeps innovation. It is good for us, and I think we are really lucky. You guys don't understand how lucky you are that DJI didn't completely monopolize that market. Like, just to have those other options here, it could have been so easy for DJI to squeeze out, and I bet you they did try this. This is unverified, of course. Let me know what you think, but DJI is not always one that is looking out for our best interests. They're definitely profits first and foremost. So yeah, it's quite lucky that we have other options out there today that we can all fly around with. Johnny D is saying analog will never dry. Yeah, that's absolutely true. And now I need a Walk Snail quad. And you can find a pair of used DJI ones for about $150 or $200, and Vista units for $100 to $139 on the FPV marketplace. All right, moving on. I'm just going to answer a couple more of these, and we're going to talk about these drone laws that I've got ready to show you guys. Right here, I found this was a pretty cool map that I wanted to talk about in just a little bit. But hello, sir. What antenna setup would you recommend for a Walk Snail Goggle V1? Also, how can I check for shorts without having a multimeter, without having continuity mode? Okay, I'll answer the second part first. This is how you can check for shorts in your drone if you're going to be plugging something in. There is something, I think they're called lipo savers, or smoke stoppers. That's what they're called. I bet you I can find one. I think I've got a video on one as well. They're essentially a 12 volt light bulb that you get from like a tailgate of a car. Let's see. And let's have a look. Do I even have a video on this? And if you don't have, oh, that's one you can just buy. But essentially it is, oh, JB's got a video on it. Actually, we're going back in time here. Going to find a good old JB video. Just got to wait for this ad to play. So this is going back about 5 years ago, and he's talking about how to make a smoke stopper. Let's put this on the screen. So let's see. Screen share. This bad boy right here. Can't get it on the bench. Okay, so essentially it's a light bulb, and what's going to happen when you plug this in, if there's a short on your quad, this light bulb is, we'll give this a little thumbs up. There you go, Joshy B. This little light bulb will light up if there's a short on your quad. So really, really a simple thing to do. In terms of like shorts in your goggles and like fault finding, multimeters are really, really valuable. However, yeah, just this is probably the best way. If you don't have a multimeter and you're worried about turning your drone on for the first time or plugging it in, you can also buy them. You can buy smoke stoppers, but if you want to make one, I bet you they're ridiculously cheap if you source some of these parts. Just make sure it's like a 12 volt bulb, and you'll be ready to rock and roll. Wi-Fi smoke stopper, that's from Johnny DRC. And Leadus is saying, I'm on digital and I'm on disability. Okay, so is that for the price things? You still find it affordable? Is that what we're talking about there? We got Kiz as well in the chat. jump on over here. But the other part, what antenna setup would you recommend for the Walksnail Goggle V1? Now, look, I've actually got these right here. So this is the Walksnail Goggle X. And believe it or not, when I'm flying around with these, and you will notice this in a video you'll see coming up in just a little bit in on my channel when I was testing out the Nomad system, when it comes to long range, I am a bit disheartened with these antennas. Like, I don't trust them as much after seeing the performance I can get. And this is amazing with the Walksnail Goggle L goggles. So I do agree. I need to update these. If you've got some suggestions, please let me know in the chat. I think probably the biggest one is making sure that they are polarized correctly. I believe these are left-hand polarized. I'm 90% sure that, yeah, make sure you're getting left-hand polarized, because that's what it is on the Walksnail system. And also like larger ones. I need these to be, I think I've got some fly, what is it called? Flyfish antennas. So that would be my recommendation. I do need to switch it out. Let's see these. Flyfish. This is the Valador frame. No. Products. I don't know what you guys use, but I have had some good success here. Let's go products, antennas, left-hand polarized. These bad boys. I don't know what the difference is between these two. Oh, RP SMA, and this is just SMA. What do we got here? Okay, this is, I'm pretty sure that is RP SMA. Yes. So something like these antennas right here would be great. That's what I need to get. Make sure you get 4 of them. I'm not sure which antenna does like the telemetry and those things. It can be a little bit different. And Letus is saying, I don't let my disability hold me back from flying. Anything that helps out my mental health too. Yeah, that's one of the best things about FPV, just being part of the community, getting out, exploring new places, learning new things, having a bit of a, I would say, a definite dopamine rush when you're cruising around as well. Okay, now I got sidetracked. Let's talk about this part. This is some drone laws, or I found this chart. I don't know, I saw it pop up on Reddit a little while ago, and I thought, oh, this is kind of interesting. We'll just have a bit of a chat about this. Just some little stats about drones around the world. And this is the part that I wanted to point out up the top. So we've got non-drone regulated legislation, restrictions, bans, effective bans, line of sight required, experimental line of sight, and unrestricted. Now, this did make me, you know, people often talk about Sweden just a little bit. It looks like you can fly however you want in Sweden. And just because you can fly however you want doesn't mean you should. Of course, always be safe and those sorts of things. The global drone industry is predicted to double over the next 5 years, from 22 billion to 48 billion in 2025. 42 billion, I should say, in 2025. All right, so we must be coming up right there. I found, so this is going back like a little bit. New Zealand was the world's first pizza delivery occurred. There we go. So maybe Bruce from RC Model Reviews. You can't. I'm in the way down here, but New Zealand is sort of like down below Australia on the edge of the world right here. Japan, several, what's that say? Prefectures? Prefectures. In Japan. Does that mean like a province? Are training drones to help assist in public disaster response efforts. Like, I'm not the world's worst reader. I've just never prefectures. Okay, maybe someone can Google and let me know what that means right there. It looks like Africa's got no idea what's going on with drones. It's just mostly unregulated or outright banned. Brazil company, they're doing some stuff for food deliveries. And then the exciting one, the USA, an estimated 1 in every 7 Americans has flown a drone. So I don't know how many people live in the States. What is the population over there? Like 300 million? So what's that? 50 million people have flown a drone, which is I don't know, kind of an exciting time for FPV. I'm not really going to be talking about. I guess they're talking about Ukraine here is on the map and Israel. That might be a little bit political. Yeah, I thought it was interesting for me. Experimental visual line of sight, and this is also not just talking FPV drones. This is talking in general. It's I don't know. Australia is a bit of an interesting place. My advice, and this is usually what I give to people when they ask me, "Hey, can I fly here? Am I allowed to?" My advice is, are you annoying people? Like when you are if you are flying over people and houses and property, that's just the wrong way to go about it. Now, these laws are usually made because people have made really stupid mistakes that the media runs as like a scapegoat, and they say, "Oh, drones are kind of come and damage us all," or B, it's just like they have no idea what they're regulating, so they don't know how to do it, and the public is kind of freaking out. Just be a good person. Don't fly near people. Don't fly near property. And that's the best part about FPV is when you get to rip around, and it's like sort of you wouldn't ride your dirt bike or motocross bike through the streets, and that's not really safe. It's so much more fun if you took that out and got off the beaten path and cruised around some tracks and things like that. So through the woodlands, you should kind of treat your drones in the same respect. The universe is saying 333 million people live in the USA, and someone is saying 0.3 there as well. That's a lot. So we've got Mark in the chat as well, giving a little bit of a thumbs up. All right, now I would like to move on. This is a bit of FPV history. So this is something that I feel like is not going to be popular in terms of like my channel. It's not going to help me on a business sense, but I love FPV. It's something that I believe in, and I think without taking these steps, it's going to be lost forever. So what I would like to do is a little bit of a series where every once in a while, I just focus in and I zoom in on one part about FPV. Like I'm already looking for some products and already going back and talking in time, and people are like, man, I've never heard of that person. I've never seen that product before in my life. I have no idea about that. I didn't know that existed. And unless we catalog that or talk about that in the future, if we're already like 10 years since the thing I want to talk about today with the drone nationals, in the future, if we don't talk about some of these FPV things and some of the parts of history that happened, like what are some of the most memorable things that you can remember in FPV that you might have zero idea that existed. You might try to do a bit of research in the future, and it's almost like going to a museum. Like if we opened up an FPV drones museum, I guess you can come to my place and hang out because we could definitely do that here. There is definitely a lot of history downstairs, and I feel like I have a responsibility to document some of that stuff. I know it's not going to be the most popular stuff that I put on YouTube. It's just, I feel like it needs to get out. So one thing I wanted to start it off with a bit of FPV, going back, a bit of a history class, the world's first drone championship. So this is going back to 2015, and if you didn't know, it was a very, very different scene. In 2015, there was nothing digital. There was no standardized sort of race format. 4S was the predominant king. We had, like, I think we were still using biprops. We'll have a look at some of those. There was no refinedness in terms. Everyone was throwing out different wild ideas, trying to see what worked, what didn't work. It was almost like the early days of motor car racing or motor racing where we just didn't know, and there was a lot of experimentation. It was a really exciting time. People into FPV today, like there's pilots out there, some kids who they weren't even alive when these races were going on. So this is the world's first, what was sort of put together and organized and seen as like it was official. That's like, hey, all these groups got together and this is the world's first FPV race. So this is in 2015. I have some pictures to show you. So if I jump over here. So the 2015 US National Drone Racing Championship. And it could have just been World Drone Racing Championship as far as I'm concerned, because this had pilots from all over the world. Let's see, if I scroll this, can we see here a little bit more? it was like the most boring track you had ever seen. But FPV was just coming like to fruition, where people were realizing, hey, we can really race these things. They're a lot of fun. The technology is getting good enough and open enough where a lot of people can get involved. And so 2015 was sort of the year. Look, we've got July, so halfway through the year, not too far away, less than 8 months away. It's going to be a decade ago that this happened. So I don't know if anybody's in here that actually saw this one. Now, the winner of this, you can already see. So the universe is saying, is this the one that Chad won? Yes, we'll be talking about Chad Nowak a little bit. So there's another bit of FPV history right here. We've got some shots. Look at this for a track. So my face is in here just a little bit, but that is the most. This is the world. This is the pedigree of the world's best pilots. This is the track that they flew around. So they have one gate over and under, or I guess like a I don't know what you call that, because figure 8, and then it's like on a little soccer pitch. It's a pretty small track, especially compared to today's races. We have, you can see right here, so our ready-made RC. Are they still around? Like, this is what I'm talking about. Like, these stores and these places are disappearing. Right, what do we got? Of course, Get FPV is in there. They must have been one of the major sponsors right there. We've got their Luminaire brand as well. All right, let's have a look here. I think, well, look, this looks like I'm going to ignore most of the people in here. So let's just focus on these gentlemen right here, because this is Chad Nowak. This is actually the dude who won. So you'll see him come up a little bit. And if you've been around for a while, you'll notice he was in Rotor Riot as well. And then this dude, that's Strepo, but most people, I think I knew him as Mark as well. They flew over. They did some cool documentation on it when they spoke about, I guess, their experience and going over to have fun and all those sorts of things. But yeah, I just have to stress, like, it was a wild time in terms of like engineering and what people were putting together with their drones. I really like some of these shots. So it just shows the openness of the FPV hobby. Everybody was getting together, and look at that drone looks. Can I zoom in on that? Like, look how heavy this thing looks. We've got some bi-blade props right there. This one's got some slanted motors, it looks like, so some angled motor mounts. Most people, I would say the most popular radio is the Tyrannus. Everybody would have been flying around on Free Sky. Like, look at this drone. And look, you see camera mounts, disgusting. Everything is zip tied to the top. We are probably flying around with clean flight. I would say base flight at the time. I don't think clean flight existed, which is even before beta flight. It was a really, really rough situation. Most of the time we would have been on a 4S quad as well. And let's see, we might look at all the TPU and things too people were mounting to their drones. So we hadn't really had the idea of, we should strip these down to get the largest and the most amount of speed that we can. Let's see what else we can find. That might be, is that Tommy? So, oh my God, I'm not too sure right there, but look, we've got some old school, like people racing with their GoPro mounts. It was a pretty special time as well, because people, look at this quad. Like, and there was no refinement. No one had thought, hey, we should just put 2 pieces of carbon together and make these as light and as small as possible. I don't know if maybe there was some prize money as well. Latest is saying, I thought you were younger, 10 years older than I. So I guess he's talking to Johnny DRC, saying he's been flying since 1971. Look at the amount of zip ties on that thing. Like, old quads, old FPV cameras. We've got, looks like a PDB, power distribution board, in the bottom. Oh, look at this. If you don't know who this gentleman is, it looks like Trappy was there as well. So he's flying around. He's got, it looks like he's sort of getting some more refinement here. I don't know what that quad frame is, but yeah, it's cool to see Trap in there. flying around. I remember putting these legs on your drone as well, like these little things. They get snapped off all the time and bent. No camera angle here on your recording camera. These props would explode anytime you looked at them. The FPV antenna was sort of like mounted to your frame, and it would get like one of the easiest ways to clip a gate and go flying off. Anyway, I also, look at this, I've lined up from Tommy now. We have a video here. I do have it muted just in case, because this is a wild time too when people didn't really think about copyrighted music. We're just making, I need to think, he might not have thought that, so I don't want to get a copyright strike, but we do have one of his flights right here. And I feel sorry for, oh my God, because he went to take off. Look, I think you can hear some stuff in the background. Is that playing? Maybe not. And he forgot to put his props on. So yeah, and then have a look at what the flights were like. So remember, this is the part going over the top of the frame. I don't know what, like, did we even have to, I don't even know if you have to go through those. And you can see the speeds. Okay, like the speed, that flag's fallen over. Someone must have crashed on one of those. But yeah, the speeds are very, very tame compared to today's settings. So I don't know. I think it's just cool to document this, give a bit of commentary on what the scene was like, because a lot of this might disappear. Like some of these things might disappear, some companies and some stores that might not be around in the next 10 years, 5 years, we never know. Drones are not going to be disappearing, but it's something that I believe in anyway. But just I thought it'd be a cool little thing to document right there. Talk about what it was like back in the day. You guys don't understand now. So that's 10 years ago. A bit of FPV history. So I'm going to be going through. We're going to be talking about some obscure references, some things that people don't understand about FPV and what it's like today. But if I don't do this, what's going to happen? Like I feel like I've been here since the birth of FPV in terms of like this refinement into what we would call FPV racing drones today. I've been around from the start, lucky enough to still be making content for you guys. And it's just a bit of a project that I'm passionate about and I want to talk about. Okay, moving on. I want to say, and let me know in the chat if this, I hope you are ready to be completely amazed. I want to see your comments here. This I'm about to show you is the best FPV flight I have ever seen in my entire life. I've been doing this for 10 years and I have never seen a video this good. I'm really hoping I don't get a copyright strike because you need to hear the audio that we have with this. It is outstanding. So this is from someone called Mika. It was posted 3 days ago and it is absolutely incredible. Check this out. Okay. So if I go full screen right here, I'm hoping this is going to do it justice. Incredible. The pilot and are you guys getting audio? Is this coming through for you guys? Before I want to just double check this. Do you get audio from this or is this muting it? I'm just I want to double check that because you can see their commentary and things like that as well. I don't think this is muted. Unmute site. Here we go. Ooh, that's very loud. How am I going to, I know, change some of these settings up? Okay. I think you're going to get audio from here. No, still muted. Oh, how do I do audio without this double into this microphone? Like, oh, okay, it's not too bad. All right. Is that coming through for you guys? If I'm playing this? Like, do you guys get that audio? Can you hear that when that's playing? Of course, I'm going to go back. I'm not going to butcher the video the whole time while I'm doing this. I just want to get this right from the get-go. All right. Well, okay. I'm going to push play on this because I don't want to leave people to... Oh, they're saying no. You heard it for a second when it was loud.
flaps.
Just what this guy does, I just even that looks good, but it gets like 100 times better. This is without a doubt the best flight I have ever seen in flying.
Oh là là, oh là là.
That catch, like to be able to do that, outstanding. It just keeps getting better and better too.
Oh.
You can hear their excitement.
Voilà, ça c'était Nawak. Allez, on se calme un peu là. Oh, ce lipo de bourrin.
I don't know what they're saying. It's gotta be like, even I can't. I think they must be saying I can't.
Allez, c'est bonus là maintenant. Là. Oh non! Bon. C'est bon, c'est bon, c'est bon, c'est bon. Oh non, c'est ma cam qui s'éteint? Ah ok, ok. Ah, j'aurais été dégoûté.
I've watched this like 100 times.
Oh, allez!
Hey, you gotta understand.
Oula.
Like, you gotta understand.
Ah, je voulais jusqu'en bas! Le gourmand! Ah, le gourmand!
Uncut FPV freestyle. He's not just linking like.
Comment ça vole encore?
This is one battery.
J'étais pas loin des pics là.
I've never seen like a flight like this before. Now he does know the space. He
has
flown in many times. It's just like,
oh non! Allez, je rentre, c'est bon. Allez! Yes! Disneyland, baby!
So yeah, that I'm gonna link that down below, but an absolute amazing flight. I have to say, I think that's the best flight I've ever seen in my entire FPV. Like here for 10 years, I've watched thousands upon thousands of videos from people from all over the world. And the most impressive part is the flying is also next level, but it is linked together in one consistent routine. Or like if this was the Olympics, this would be the time when they say this is like if this was diving, they'd be like, this is the greatest dive that has ever happened. A perfect 10. Of course, we have 2 crashes in here or little clips, but it is, you could say, hey, you could improve that, but this is sort of like 99.999% incredible. And then you've got those 2 little clips that I guess where it crashes that, yeah, they knock it down at one tiny part, but like there's some parts in here I want to talk about specifically where he does this clip, this catch where right here he comes up here and then goes backwards through that wall like most people would keep turning. And then to link that with this part where he goes backwards through the door and he comes until even they're excited about. So yeah, it's absolutely. Oh, people saying low audio stew. Okay, all right. So anyway, sorry about that. I've boosted myself back up. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. I had to turn that down. I need to get that sound fixed a little bit and figure out how we can do that. But yeah, absolutely the most amazing FPV flight I have ever seen. So yeah, it absolutely outstanding. I'd have to say 10 out of 10 to be able to link those tricks together, do everything as one flight, putting it all together. Just congratulations to this dude, because like, I don't know, if I could give them 100 thumbs up, I would. It's had 2, like, that's a pretty good ratio. It's almost had 3K views and it's still got 500 thumbs up. So yeah, some really, really cool stuff there. Okay, sorry about the sound issues. We'll have to work on that, on how I can, because if I blast audio where you guys can hear it, it still comes into this microphone that we're using. So we're gonna have to figure some things out. Okay, moving on. This one I got an email, and this is one of the problems with bind and fly drones, where it can be really tricky for new pilots to understand what's going wrong. And one of the benefits of building your own drones from scratch is you understand, you put them together, you bound them up, you know exactly what is working. So when something breaks, it's much easier to diagnose that problem. So I got this email from, his name is Gooniverse. And I can put this on the screen right here. And essentially, we had a bit of a back. I think I've got about 13 emails from the dude going back and forth. But he crashed his Meteor 75, which is this drone right here. Let's see, where can we look at this? One of these bad boys, and it does have ELRS. And I was trying to find out, okay, is there like an onboard SPI receiver? And then I thought, you know what, the easiest way that I can help somebody is if I'm doing my live stream tomorrow, I can just comment on that. So he had a crash and it no longer connects to his radio. Now, if you built this yourself, you'd say, okay, how can I troubleshoot that problem? I know how to solve that. Let's find the root of this. So even if something is broken, I know how to fix it, or I know how to replace it. For me, it sounds like, so he has lost his bind thing and he's trying to connect it back up to the ELRS configurator. But I think my advice would be, so I wrote back and I said, hey, is this SPI, or does it have a, what did I say? Was this an external receiver in here? And then he said that the only thing external is the VTX. And then he wants to know what's the SPI. So the SPI receiver is the part on the board here where it's all inbuilt, and you can actually configure that in Betaflight. So if you go into Betaflight, we'll be able to plug that in, and there will be an option where you can, under ELRS, you can set your bind phrase. So the first thing you need to check is, has this drone lost its bind phrase? So you go back and you make sure that it's the same one on your radio. If you need to set your bind phrase on the radio, you can do it in the configurator, but one of the easiest ways that I find to do that is you can put your radio into Wi-Fi mode and then just simply connect to that Wi-Fi on your phone, and then that'll go through and you can set your bind phrase in there. It doesn't need to be done in the configurator, but also ELRS has one of the best wikis you have ever seen. So you jump over, you can just type in ELRS wiki, jumping over here. This has everything that you need to know on how to set it up. So I'm sure somewhere here there'll be SPI receivers, configuring flight controller, firmware versions, binding ELRS. Here we go. So I've got some stuff on SPI based receivers. And then binding phrases, everything that the wiki and the amount of work that they've put in here over on the LRS wiki is outstanding. I think it is by far the best documented resource we have in FPV. How do I get to into ELRS on Betaflight? It's part of the receiver tab. So if you just go down to receivers, there will be an option that should say enter your binding phrase. That will be in there. It's not like its own whole little different thing. As long as you have SPI clicked on like your serial receiver or something, under when you go into your receiver tab, you should be able to enter your bind phrase right there. Yeah, so receiver tab, if it's SPI. Well, this is 661. Yeah, it's inbuilt to their Meteor 65. So this right here. And Kiz is saying, you don't per se, if you have an SPI receiver, you can set it in the receiver tab. He's saying, let me plug it in. I'll have a look right now. Now, look, this did happen after a crash, so maybe he could have broken something. Something just fell over in my house. Otherwise, actual ELRS settings you do through the configurator. Yeah. So ELRS is what your drone is running. If you want to set your bind phrase, because if it's not binding and you haven't changed anything else, you can double check that in Betaflight. You can set your binding phrase and click save. Otherwise, if you go into the configurator, that's where you can do a whole bunch of different things like trying to flash it and all that sort of stuff. Something is not getting power, or did it get wet? No, so I think he can still get, the thing is, it won't go into Wi-Fi mode no matter what I try, and it's not in the ELRS configurator. Yeah, I wouldn't be trying to do Wi-Fi or anything else like that. Like you're going to need to plug this in with a USB port. Also has the correct preset for ELRS flash for beta flight, for example. So it has also, Kiz, he has flown this before in the past. It's just after he had a smash that it no longer works. And that's one of the problems, I guess, if you're trying to problem solve, like all these steps it would have gone through, it would have set these up in the first place. If you build your own drone, it can get a little bit tricky when you get a bind and fly, or especially if you get it ready to fly. That makes it really, really difficult for newcomers into the hobby. So I think ready to flies are great. You just need to prepare, or bind and flies are great. You just need to be prepared to do a bit more head scratching and research if something goes wrong, where you're doing the learning in the first time if you're building your own from scratch. Now, these little drones usually are pretty simple to get up and get flying. And 661 is saying if it's SPI, it doesn't have Wi-Fi. If it worked when you crash and now it doesn't work, 99% chance it's broken. Look, I would like to say, I'm not going to say 99%. Does it power on? Can you still move a lot of like the motor tabs and go through some of those other functions in the Betaflight configurator? If you can do that, then maybe it just like lost its bind phrase. I mean, those things have happened to me. I'm wondering if the crash wiped the settings back to stock again. I know some whoops can do that. Yep. I've also had sometimes that's happened. If I've run a battery really, really flat, I have lost a little bit of, I guess, some settings sometimes with some of those older whoops as well. So you can try flashing again. My advice would be muck around with this first in the receiver tab. You need to make sure, like, do you know what your binding phrases are? Make sure that they're the same. Everything in Betaflight works. Okay, so what's your binding phrase? He's asking us. What's your binding phrase set as? And you can see the importance of like why I, after 13 emails back and forth, I was like, I'm just going to talk about this on my stream. If anyone else has some suggestions as well, or maybe you've got some ideas or some of the pitfalls you had with some of your bind and flies, or if you've learned some things from building your own, throw that in the chat as well. Any bit of advice that might help somebody. Doesn't have to be this specific issue, but if you've got a tip that really helps somebody when they're trying to diagnose a problem. Serial via UART is what it says. Are you in the, no, are you in the receiver tab? Like, okay. I'm realizing we're having to go back a lot further here. Let me see. I don't have a quad to plug in up here. But I will be able to find a picture. Now this is an old photo. It doesn't show me exactly. But this will be good enough for you to get the idea across. So this is your receiver tab. See right here, you're going to have here, you can also enable expert mode. Now, depending, this isn't going to show up for everything. This is only because yours is going to be SPI, but you should have an option here in your receiver tab where you can set your bind phrase. It's not going to look exactly like this. Like this is a really old version. This is just what I could find. This is look 2017, but you'll get the idea. You need to go to this tab and double check your receiver right here. And that's where you can change some settings. And Kiz is saying, once it binds again, then do a CLI dump. That way you can rule out settings if it happens again by reloading the dump. Look up the specs on the flight controller and see if it's SPI or serial RX. So there's nothing else soldered to it as well. It's just one board on the Meteor 75. And Johnny D is saying, go into the CLI and type status and see the red flag. So there's a couple of different things you can do. And my advice for this is for everybody, no matter what drone it is. It's about troubleshooting those problems. So you need to find out, like, let's say we're going to find out video. Maybe you're just getting the OSD settings and you're not getting your camera video coming through. Okay, well then there's probably a break between the camera and the actual flight controller because we're still transmitting. I'm still getting the OSD readout. I can still read it in my goggles, so you can understand it's transmitting correctly. The OSD's there. There has to be the problem with the camera. Maybe it's not getting voltage. Maybe the signal is the signal wire is not working. So that's an example that I'm using. But you need to troubleshoot down your problems until you find out where that issue is going to be. So rule out through process of elimination all the other things. 661 is saying it can be serial X on the flight controller and not a separate receiver. Okay, thank you very much for that. I don't actually know if I have a Meteor 75, so I could double check this. Where is the receiver options? Oh, here we go. It depends when you bought this as well. There we go. So 2022. It depends, I guess, what version we have. Not really when you bought it. It depends what version you were shipped. So it's a little bit more of some rabbit hole there. Okay. But the moment it stopped working, when you crashed it, it's broken. Let's jump over to here and check my email. Welcome to UAVFutures technical support. Okay, he has no option here for, here we go. Screen share. So right here, what version are we on? 4.4. At least the flight controller is working. To put your, I don't know if we need to change this. I can't remember off the top of my head right here if we need to change this to like an SPI receiver. And you can also make sure you check that in the configuration tab as well. So there can be a little bit, we can still keep emailing back and forth right there, but I feel like there's a couple of things we can do. Like 661 says it could just be broken. That could be the case, but we should try to find the receiver here and find out first, I guess, if it's an SPI receiver. You need to have a look at where you got it from, find the exact link and the version that you have as well. And find out, or if it's a serial RX. Okay. Okay, moving on to, I'm just conscious of the time here. It's already been going for an hour. Okay. This video, I've only got one video to show you in terms of Reddit review of the week, and this was not the best FPV video I've ever seen because we just played that, but you guys are really going to like this video. It kind of blew up a little bit, and I couldn't be happier because it is super cool. Let me get this on the screen. Okay. That's all those windows. Hang on. Okay, FPV drone threads the needle. So I'm going to press play on this. I'm not going to spoil anything. Yeah, this is a really, really cool video. I don't like the wait for it. Those I'm upset I missed those. I would have loved to seen it go off those jumps, but then woo! The guards are obviously excited to do that as well. But yeah, I thought that was, there's only one Reddit video to show you this week. I thought this was really, really cool. Kids are saying, yep, definitely serial. Then since they swapped back a while back due to Betaflight SPI support. The problem is if you miss doing this as well, like how long would that take until you can, how many takes did that take? I would like to know that in the background as well. That had, the original had 54,000 upvotes. So yeah, some pretty cool stuff right there. Okay, before we wrap up the stream, I need your help actually. So you might have seen in some of the videos, and I can also show you right here, this is what I'm struggling with a little bit on the channel. So if I go to my projects folder, some things that I'm working on, we have I'm seriously getting like some filming out in the field issues. So there's been a couple of different times when I'm filming and it's really making my job difficult and some parts a little bit frustrating to film correctly, because here's an example. Let me get this ready to play. All right, so have a listen to this, right? I'm going to be quiet. You guys can listen to this. I wonder if I can mute my microphone.
Here we are, the 10-inch. What's your first thoughts? You did see it in the air, but we've had nothing like it, so this is going to be quite interesting.
Just as a comparison.
So that's oh, you guys couldn't even see the video. My mistake. Here we go. It's very quick. I'm just going to mute myself while I talk here because I want you to listen to how much noise is coming through my GoPro and my recording lately.
Yeah, but we've had nothing like it, so this is going to be quite interesting.
Just as a comparison, we just put together
So I don't know if that was coming through. So a lot of the times when we're trying to film, so this is out here with Stickman Steve, we're talking about this drone as well, and I don't know what's happened with my this thing. Like this is what I've been recording with. This is like my camera rig, I guess, for when I'm out in the field. And yeah, the audio quality on this, I feel like my GoPro is dying or breaking or something's just not right, because a lot of the times it will either sound like that, which is disgusting, like the amount of wind noise. This should be trying to cut that out. I don't know if you've got any suggestions on what we should be getting. But also, look at this. We have, and this is really heartbreaking when I'm trying to do a video and this happens. GT. And this is not muted, so I'm going to go over here. This is what's happening, right? So here's me and Steve. Oh no, that one's got some sound, but halfway through, for some reason, like the audio will just completely stop recording in here. So we're really struggling, I guess, a little bit with some audio in the background. There we go. Like this is not muted. We'll decide to, oh no, we don't want to record audio there. So if people have some suggestions on what we should be getting for like a GoPro or a filming rig, I need something that's really easy to it's portable, it's easy to carry around, it's easy to frame, even better if it fits into a rig like this. I need to think of like what filming suggestions do people have out there, because this GoPro, this is a 8 Black. I have no idea what they're up to at the moment, but I feel like I need to upgrade. So if you've got some suggestions that you have, that will definitely help, because it's a bit heartbreaking when I'm trying to make these videos, I go to import them and I go to edit them, and then like my commentary's gone, or Steve's commentary's gone, or like some of these you only really get one shot on, say, first impressions, or you're trying to do something and then we have no idea what I'm talking about because the audio's gone. So a lot of people nowadays use the Rode lapel mics. Not sure what they're like with the wind. Now that's definitely something that we could look at. One of the things I loved about this was it ran on like no external batteries. I didn't need to charge it or anything like that. I simply plugged it in. I've already got this mic. I think the mic is good. Maybe the GoPro section is broken of this. It does have one of those little, like these jacks right here. So I don't know if you've got some suggestions, please let me know what people are using. I would love to get that fixed. It might be one of the stream goals. I guess we can put a little donation or something towards it, because it's one like that helps me make these videos. That's what I want to work towards too in the future. You guys deserve good videos. I want to make good videos, but I feel like that is really letting me down at the moment. So that's probably something we're going to be using. Zoom H1 or Zoom H4 audio recorder. and record at the same time as you film and sync them in post. I do have one of those, but I like that. I understand that's a good option. Is that the way to go though? Like, I don't know, the new DJI Action Cam. I want it to be as simple as possible. The reason I did love this setup, and it did work, I don't understand what's changed, was I could just plug it in, and as long as my GoPro was charged and the cables were connected, that's it. That's all I needed to do. It recorded the audio. Yeah, Johnny DRC is saying ask Bardwell. There we go. He definitely does have some good suggestions. I don't know. That's just something that I think if you can think about something, or you want to send me an email or some links or anything like that, that's something that I want to work towards in the future, just so I can make the best content that I can, because it's really hard when you're like all pumped, you got your video, you come in and, oh, look at that, we don't have any audio. So that's why I've got a couple of videos that I filmed. I have to go back and try to redo. The new DJI Action Cam is a lot easier and can have 2 personal mics at once. Yeah, but you got to charge those. And I'm just like playing devil's advocate here. I'm just sort of going through the pros and cons. Doesn't mean I'm saying no, I don't want to do those. Johnny DRC says I'm using a Runcam 5 orange for the video. All right. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be it for today. Thanks so much for tuning in week out. Like, this is stream number, I think we're up to, what are we up to, number 12. I want to say thanks for being here. I hope you enjoyed it. I really appreciate you. I appreciate you being here. Remember, you are valued, you are special, and I just want to say thank you. You're an amazing person. Thanks for tuning in. Do what Cody does and put on a donation goal. Okay, maybe we'll try and do that maybe by next stream there, ladies and gents. We'll see if we can figure something out. And test your mic on something else. Yeah, the issue is too that, like, it records. This is where troubleshooting, I'm sort of taking my own advice here. Trying to diagnose the problem is tricky because it still will record. Like, this is a perfect example, right? This clip right here that we have. I've got no audio right here, but I have a bit of audio here at the start. So it's been pretty painful trying to diagnose the problem when you're like, I think it's working, it's great. And then you think a clip is good, and then you're like halfway through editing it and it sort of disappears. All right. Put your Cash App tag up for donations. I don't know what Cash App is. Maybe I need to investigate that, because it definitely will make a difference. Like, it'll make a difference. I want to get it for you guys. It's sort of like my next upgrade that I would like to do on the channel. Anyway, I want to say thanks so much for tuning in. Other than that, subscribe for more FPV related content. I hope we fix Universe's thing. Maybe if you've got some other issues or you've got any suggestions for him, he's probably going to stick around in the chat for a little while. Could be the cable. Yes, it could be. On there. And with that, I will see you next week. All right. Catches.